Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please continue to enjoy your breakfast. I do have a favor to ask. I need your help with something. All right, so you all saw Brooke Rollins yesterday, right? Give her a speech. It's been so much fun to watch her career, especially the last 10 years, but I have a feeling it's going to continue to shine. Well, today happens to be her birthday. So here's what I would ask you to do. I'm going to take a video, and I would like to wish her a happy birthday from all of you, okay? So when I say, but today a few of your TPPF friends have gathered to wish you and then I'm going to cue you to say happy birthday, okay? And then after that, you can cheer, you can say whatever, many more, Gigamags, we love you, whatever. But so let's practice once, and then I'm going to do this on my phone, and then we'll send it to her, okay? I'll say, okay. But today, a few of your friends from TPPF have gathered to wish you a happy birthday. Okay, perfect. Y'all are so good. Okay, all right, let's try this. It's Brooke Rollins. It's her birthday. Yep. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn this to me. Okay, ready? Brooke, thank you again for coming to our policy summit yesterday. You did a great job. People are still talking about your speech, especially your mom and her introduction. Who knew you had such great hair as a kid? It's amazing. But today, just a few of our TPPF friends have gathered to wish you a very happy birthday! Happy birthday. Have a good day. Awesome. Great job. Let's send that to her. I've always wanted to do that. Thank you. That's fantastic. We have many elected officials who have been with us this week. In fact, I sat next to Senator Sparks yesterday, and we decided we might have enough legislators to convene a special session right here at the conference so we can pass all of TPPF priorities right here. Is that a good idea? I think that was a good idea. But we also have a truly outstanding board. It's a privilege for Greg and Rob and me and our whole team to work with these dedicated Texans who love TPPF, and it's just a privilege to work with them. So here's another favor I have. If you're sitting next to or on a table of an elected official or somebody who just was elected or one of our board members, would you please tell them thank you for what they do? Thank you, seriously, thank you. This morning's breakfast is generously sponsored by our good friend Bernie Groveman and his wonderful wife Barbara. Thank you, Bernie. It's right there. We're super grateful for their longstanding support, but Bernie, more importantly, your friendship means everything. So thank you very much. Barbara's not feeling 100% today, so we will be thinking of her all day long. But she sends her love to all. Thank you, Bernie. Thank you. One of our great privileges we have at TPPF is recognizing some of our truly extraordinary colleagues whose ideas literally help change the world. To walk us through this year's Texas Patriot Award, please join me in welcoming my friend and our executive director, Rob Henneke.
Good morning again. It's great to be with you. We're going to finish with a bang here, our Texas Policy Summit. But this part of the program is one of my favorite things every year, and that's when I get to announce and discuss this year's Texas Patriots Excellence in Achievement Award, which is made possible by our longtime supporters, Joe and Olga San Miguel, since 2019. The Patriot Excellence in Achievement Award recognizes career accomplishments and extraordinary work by a member of the Texas Public Policy Foundation team. This is our most valuable player award for the year. And as you've seen with all of the extraordinary colleagues that I have here at the foundation, it is quite a decision that Greg and myself and others on our team have to make on this. But this year was really a no-brainer for us. As many of you know, Joe San Miguel passed away in 2023, and he loved being part of this presentation. We know that Joe will always be with us in spirit. We're proud to carry on the legacy that him and Olga created for us. Olga, it's a great honor to have you with us, and would you please stand and be recognized for making this award possible? Olga, thank you for you and Joe and honoring and finding a way to honor the accomplishments and dedication of our TPPF staff. But I don't have the award here. Would somebody bring me the award, please? Oh, well, this is great. This is great. This is Kylie Quintero and Carson Quintero. Welcome, guys. So you're here, and your dad is probably wondering why you're not in school. And that's James Quintero. He's probably figuring out right now that he is this year's award recipient. And we are honoring and recognizing James because he really is the foundational bedrock on which TPPF stands. His extraordinary work over the past 17 years, you've heard it spoken about here today by the governor, lieutenant governor, speaker of the House, talking about their priorities, issues like banning taxpayer-funded lobbying, bringing property tax relief, reigning in our cities. These are the issues that James has fought for year after year after year, and you see the traction and the progress that we're making. And it's also because of just the thoughtful, deep research and analysis that he does that lends credibility to these issues. He's an amazing man. He's got a wonderful father. He's blessed to have his wife, Tricia, with him. Come on up too, Tricia. And it's just such an honor for us to recognize James Quintero with this year's Patriot Excellence Award.
What's going on, mama? Something's going on. I ain't been home in some months. Been chasing songs and women, making some bad decisions. God knows I'm drinking too much. Yeah, I know you've been
You guys are going to make a brown man blush. I am the most undeserving person to receive this award, but if you're going to give me this platform, then let me begin by giving the honor and the glory to God. I have not always been the most faithful person to the Lord Jesus Christ, but he has always been faithful to me, and he has brought me to this point. I'm in a room full of friends, mentors, patriots, and you have made this possible, and so I am in your debt. I'm also surrounded by family. My beautiful wife and children, they teach me every day love, patience, grace, kindness, mercy. I am so incredibly blessed. Thank you guys so very much. I look forward to serving you for has it been 18 years now? So thank you very much.
So let me go, sorry on the easy, dragging on a plastic cigarette, with your swim top still wet. So let it go, I'm meeting you out on the coast. I'm real smoke, so why do you always keep me so close?
give one more round of applause for James Quintero. Wow. You know, as y'all know who have seen this before, they do not know. So it's a very heartfelt thing what he just said. I loved it, James. Congratulations again, my friend. Well deserved. And it's a great reminder, I think, of why we're here. This work matters, ideas matter, but the people matter more. And James is one of those great guys we have a privilege to work with. Now I have the privilege of introducing somebody I've known for quite a while. Our days going back to the George W. Bush administration. Don't hold that against us. We learned a lot during that time. And even then, Scott Jennings stood out. Sharp instincts, a clear understanding of politics, a willingness to say what needed to be said, even when it wasn't the most popular thing in the room. And believe me, I witnessed that more than once at the White House. Today, many of you know Scott as the voice on CNN, where, depending on the day, he may be either the calmest person at the table or the only one willing to say what all of the conservatives in the country actually think. In fact, if you're like me, he is the only voice on CNN worth listening to. And while Scott is one of the most recognizable conservative voices in our media today, what I've always appreciated about him is that he brings more than commentary. He brings perspective. In a time when there's a lot of noise, he helps cut through that noise and helps a lot of us focus on what really matters. So please join me in giving a very big Texas welcome to my Kentucky friend, Scott Jennings.
How about J.B. Horton? He's a great guy. Known him for a long time. Every time J.B. says we go back to the Bush administration, it's just a reminder of how old we've gotten. But always appreciated the friendship I've had with J.B., who's rendered great service to our country. And Bernie, thanks for bringing me here. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here and be with all of you. If you've seen any of these debates that I'm having on CNN, you know that I'm usually operating under a strict 7-second rule before someone starts interrupting me. And so having a full runway this morning feels a little dangerous. I'm going to be honest with you. We'll see what happens. In all seriousness, though, it is a privilege to be the black sheep of CNN. And the thing about being the black sheep of something is that no one expects you to graze quietly. And so for as long as I am allowed to be in the field, I plan to speak my mind and to do the most American thing that you can do: argue and debate. I will argue for middle America. I will argue for rural America. I will argue for conservative values. I will argue for normalcy. And I will argue for common sense. On that, you have my word. And as part of this push for common sense, I actually wrote a book about it last year. It was called A Revolution of Common Sense. And it was inspired by something that President Trump said in his inaugural address. You might remember last January, he said we're going to have a revolution of common sense in this country. And I was sitting on the set at CNN when he said that, and I turned to Van Jones, and I said, Van, that would make an amazing book title. And he said, please don't. So I did. I had an idea, and I decided to write a book. And I went over to see the president at the White House. Truthfully, I didn't know him, really. I talked about him a lot on TV, but we didn't have a personal relationship. So I went over to the White House and opened the door, and I was expecting to see him, but I opened the door to the Oval Office, and he was in there behind the Resolute desk, and the entire cabinet was in there, and the senior staff was in there. It was a full room. And he opened the door, and he looked up, and he looked at me, and he goes, you look terrific. I mean, you look good on TV, but you actually look terrific. Not as good as you, sir. Have a seat next to the other Scott. Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. So I go in, and they're having this meeting, and he's got Besant and Lutnick, and they're talking about tariffs and stuff, and he's got Rubio and Witkoff and Ratcliffe, and they're discussing national security stuff, and he's got all these, I mean, he's conducting like 6 meetings at the same time. And I remember thinking to and in the middle of it all, this kid kicks open the door and comes running in and says, "Mr. President, they're still using paper straws in the White House mess. They must have not gotten my orders yet." I thought, I have no idea who was running the White House the last 4 years, but I sure as heck know who's running it right now. It was an amazing kickoff to writing this book. I'm sitting there, and Trump says, "Does everybody here know Scott? He's like our best guy. He knows how to defend me without getting fired by CNN, which is no small talent." And then, "To be honest, Scott, he used to be a little bit average. But then I came along, and now he's terrific." So I told the president that day that I thought somebody should write a book about his first 100 days in office, because all the usual suspects will come along and write the books and tell everybody how terrible everything is. But I said, somebody who voted for you 3 times and appreciates what you're trying to do to rescue the country ought to have a crack at it. So we got started on it. About halfway through, I didn't know what to put on the cover. And I had the publisher mock up 3 ideas, and I sent it over to the White House, and I get a 3-word email back: "He hates it." So I asked him, "What's your favorite picture of yourself?" So if you've seen the book, A Revolution of Common Sense, the picture on the cover is literally his favorite picture of himself. So I finished writing the book. It comes out in November, and I take it to the Oval Office the night before it hits bookstores, and I said, "As promised, Mr. President, I've delivered this book to you and for you by Christmas. Here's your copy." And he looks at the book and he goes, "This is the greatest cover of a book that anybody has ever written. No one will read your book. They'll only want it for the cover." So I worked really hard on it. Anyway, we made the New York Times bestseller list. Not easy for a conservative to do, but we did it because I think there are people out there who want to hear the story. The story of the book is interesting. JB knows this, when you're a Republican president, there are colluding interests in Washington, D.C. that work together to try to overwhelm you. Media, bureaucrats, Democrats, and activist judges. They all collude and work together to try to overwhelm you. And to some degree, that's what they did to President Trump in his first term. And the story of the book is, this time around it would be different. The decision was made. They will not overwhelm us. We will overwhelm them. And to me, when you look back on the first year and a couple of months in office, I think that is exactly what has happened. So if you get a chance to read it, thank you. It's cost a lot less than it did when it came out, so now's a good time to buy. It's an honor to be here this morning in Texas with all these conservatives, because you all do more than just talk. You find ways to turn the abstract into the actionable, which is a big deal right now, because all across this country, people are being told that free markets don't work, that limited government is outdated, that the only answer to our problems is more control from Washington or from government at any level. And we are faced with a political opposition right now that is more comfortable with socialism than they are with capitalism. And as this debate rages, the American people look to Texas, and they can see clearly just how lost the left truly is. They look here, and they see growth, they see opportunity, they see freedom that actually functions in people's daily lives. And this contrast isn't by accident. It is the result of the people in this room who are willing to take ideas seriously enough to implement them. And from where I sit, that makes you all one of the most important forces in the country right now, because I think we're not just debating policy anymore. This is about our way of life and the entire civilization that we call Western civilization. Will it survive? This is the question I ask myself every day. And that's what I want to talk to you all about this morning. It is my sincerest belief that everyone in this room, whether you know it or not, is doing nothing less than fighting for the future of Western civilization. I've been involved in politics now for a long time, 26 years, over half my life spent in service of the conservative cause. Candidates have come and gone. The issues of the day have evolved over the years, and goodness knows our opponents have changed. We now face the most radical, anti-American political opposition that any of us could have imagined. It's scary to me, actually, just how much the liberal movement has been hijacked by the enemies of the West, by those who believe the American founding to be rotten at its core, that it should be ripped out, root and branch. And because of that, our politics is now more than ever a fight for the survival of the West. And in this fight, we cede no ground. Not in politics, of course, not in business, not in education, not in culture, and certainly not in my arena, which is the media. We are all of us, on the front lines of a fight that will determine whether our children and grandchildren will grow up in a world where the values of the West persevere, or whether they grow up in a world shrouded in darkness under ideologies and belief systems that are the enemies of human liberty. To say that we are defending the West is to say that we are standing up for the values that built the free world: faith, reason, liberty, the inherent worth of every human being. The West is not just a place on a map. It is a set of ideas born in Jerusalem, Athens, and Rome, and carried forward by generations who believed in truth, individual responsibility, and the rule of law. It is the civilization that produced the Bible, the university, and the Constitution. And it taught us that freedom is sacred because it comes from God and not from government. To defend the West is to defend the right to speak freely, to raise your families in peace, to live by moral conviction rather than by mob coercion. Our movement, our voices, everybody in this room, we all make up a community, one of the last remaining in America that is unapologetically dedicated to preserving and passing down the moral and spiritual inheritance of the West. We are not arguing, my friends, about politics as usual anymore. We are not just disagreeing about tax rates and health care plans. We are fighting for the soul of this nation and the survival of our very civilization. This is what keeps me up at night, that the basics of our society are under constant attack. The radical left, the enemies of the West, are going after anyone who builds anything, believes anything, or stands for anything. Already this year, we have seen radicals on the streets of Minneapolis, Los Angeles, and other places, making clear that nothing short of violent confrontation and mayhem will satisfy them. Why? Because they wish to exist in a state of secession from the Union and in a state of secession from Western civilization. Tim Walz himself, the biggest buffoon in American politics, referred to Minnesota as the new Fort Sumter, openly fantasizing about a new American Civil War. People like Walz and many others in his party do not believe in national borders. They do not believe in national laws. They do not believe in any sort of legal order. And to enforce this anti-American and anti-Western worldview, they are comfortable unleashing legions of political vigilantes, backed up by news media and cultural celebrities, who I think have blood on their hands. They don't care how many brainwashed people get hurt or die. They are bloodthirsty, and they can no longer contain their disdain for the moral contours of the West and of American democracy. Let's stop pretending that this was about legitimate protest. It is well organized, and it is well funded by the enemies of the West and the enemies of the United States. It is about tearing down the United States itself. What we're seeing today in the form of these anti-law enforcement protests has worn many costumes in recent years. Black Lives Matter, Free Palestine, and now this all-out assault on federal law enforcement. Different costumes, but the same anti-American, anti-Western actors performing in the same sick play. The theme of this tragedy is simple. America is bad. Destroy America. I think we have a nullification crisis on our hands. There are Democrats who want to nullify federal laws because they don't like who the president is. There are judges who want to nullify the authority of the President of the United States. There are juries who want to nullify the rights of crime victims to seek justice. When you look at the pantheon of violent attacks that have taken place in this country, it's going on for months, against our Jewish brothers and sisters, against private companies like Tesla, against federal law enforcement, against our friend Charlie, against anyone who tries to stop them from tearing down America and tearing down Western civilization. Their message to you all is very clear. Shut up, or we will shut you up. But when they tell us to shut up, when they begin to talk over us, it's because they know they're losing the argument. When they try to silence you, it's because they know they cannot beat your ideas with their own. And when they resort to violence, it's because they know they've already lost the debate. People ask me all the time, what does the Republican Party and the conservative movement stand for right now? Hasn't it changed a lot since you came along a quarter of a century ago? Sure, there have been some changes. Leaders come and go. They all have their imprint that they leave on our platform. But to me, the answer today is pretty simple. We are the party and the movement that defends the West. We defend it at home, and we defend it abroad, even as Europe succumbs to an immigration crisis that has crippled its domestic politics and rendered it nearly useless in this fight to preserve Western civilization. We're the movement that can tell you the difference between a man and a woman. Look at what happened in the Supreme Court and in the halls of Congress recently. The smartest people on the American left were sent to testify. They could not answer two simple questions. What is a woman, and can men get pregnant? Totally stumped in Washington just a few weeks ago. We're the party that thinks American citizens should come before illegal aliens. We're the party that believes being admitted to America is a privilege, that it should require assimilation into our culture and acceptance of our legal framework. We're still the people that thinks you should keep more of what you earn. We still believe in protecting human life, born and unborn. We're the people protecting your free speech. And as the president has told the world, this movement is simply the revolution of common sense. Now, as you all know, I'm a strong defender of these values on CNN, and it rankles some of the other guests, of course. Sometimes people ask me, Scott, do you get along with your coworkers? Are you actually friends off the set? The answer to that question is yes. Some of us are. Not all of us. Some of us are. But for a few of us, we open our hearts and our ears to each other before we open our mouths, which is a good rule for punditry, but it's also a good lesson for life. I tend to gravitate to the people who argue in good faith and good humor. They do exist, but I do encounter people who are angry, who use the language of hate, and you've heard all of it before. They're all too quick to call you all racist, fascist, Nazi. So as we're building this coalition of common sense, what is happening to the political opposition? Why are they so angry? We do, after all, live in the greatest country ever devised. It's because they're headed in the exact opposite direction. If we are the movement of common sense, they have, for some reason, embraced becoming the movement of uncommon nonsense. And I'll just say out loud what everybody in this room knows to be true. The left, the Democratic Party, has completely lost its mind. I'll sum it up for you. They care more about pronouns than paychecks. They fight every day to put boys in girls' locker rooms. Their principal constituency are illegal aliens and not American citizens. They are hostile to those of us who believe in the Judeo-Christian underpinnings of our laws and culture. They have become the party and the movement of weirdos and scolds, of people who think your 5-year-old needs to know more about gender fluidity than phonics. They want to control everything. They want government making decisions that you and your family should be making for yourselves. And if you disagree, if you speak up as a matter of politics or even as a matter of faith, well, we saw what happened to Charlie. We saw what nearly happened to our president in Butler, Pennsylvania. And today, we see the American left promising retribution on anyone who supports law and order, anyone who has supported our president, and even anyone who supports the American Union itself. Make no mistake, they mean it. They will impeach the president if they gain control of Congress. They will seek to punish anyone who worked with President Trump on anything. Their base demands it, and they are powerless to stop this out-of-control, angry mob. Here is something that you must understand about the left. They hate success. They hate it when people make it on their own. They hate it when you don't need them. Think about what they teach our kids, that America was founded on racism, that our country is rotten at its core, that capitalism is evil, that hard work is for suckers, that merit is a dirty word, that the nuclear family is oppressive, especially to women, that faith is for idiots and rubes, for people who are from Kentucky and Texas. They run people for the United States Senate who think there are 6 genders, and that we can solve the climate crisis by taking away all of your bacon. Is it any wonder that Charlie spent his life on college campuses trying to reach young people? He saw what was happening. I think when that shooter pulled the trigger and killed my friend in Utah, he thought he was ending a movement. He thought if he killed Charlie Kirk, he could kill what Charlie stood for. That the rest of us would get the message. That we would heed the warning. Silence yourselves, or we will do it for you. I think that's what he thought. Certainly what the people who cheered on the assassination thought. And make no mistake, there were thousands who cheered it on. But in trying to silence one voice, I think they created thousands. In trying to end a conversation that day, I think they started millions. And that is the thing we learned about faith and freedom. You can't kill them. You can try to suppress it and you can try to silence it, but it always finds a way, like water finding cracks in a dam. Now, I've got 4 boys back home in Kentucky, 16, 12, 10, and 8. A lot of chaos in the Jennings household. 4 boys, we have 35 laying hens in the backyard. Anybody in here have chickens? There's some, yeah. Never get a rooster, that's all I can tell you. We got a rooster once by accident. They crow all day, and they constantly sexually harass their coworkers. Now, we named our rooster Governor Cuomo, and you should have been there the day that we impeached the governor. It was quite a scene in the backyard. Anyway, we thrive on chaos in the Jennings household. But for these 4 boys, and I'm sure you have these thoughts as well, when I think about their future, I don't want them to just grow up in a rich country. I want them to grow up in a good country that believes in truth, that protects free speech, that celebrates family and the blessings and societal stability that flows from it. A country where common sense is a virtue and not a vice. A country that can tell the difference between right and wrong. A country that chooses good over evil. A country that knows how to side with civilization over barbarism. And make no mistake, we have seen barbarism of the worst kind in this world over the last few years, perpetrated against the people of Israel, the Jewish people. And look what happened in the West. Our media, our politicians, people who ought to know better, sided with the barbarians. It's disgusting. And even today, you get the sense when you turn on your television that a lot of people on the left are rooting for bad outcomes for the American military because they're more invested in hurting Trump than they are in rooting for America. But this is what every conservative must understand. Division amongst ourselves puts the West at stake, and it puts America at risk. The left is unified in its hatred of Trump, in its hatred for the fundamentals of America's founding, in its belief that it is time for the cosmic scales to be balanced against the supposed oppressors of this world, in which they include everyone in this room, in case you didn't know. Now, as we battle the left and as we battle for the soul of this nation, I'll tell you what else I want for my boys, and I want it for all of your children and grandchildren. I want them to grow up in a country that understands where our rights come from. I can tell you already know. They do not come from government. They do not come from the Constitution. They do not come from the Founding Fathers, as much as we love them all. They come from God. Period. Full stop. Now, this used to be obvious to everyone. Today, it's controversial. The left wants you to believe that your rights are whatever they decide to give you. That's so that they can take them away easily. Government gives you the right to do something, well, government can take it away. But if your rights come from God, this is something different entirely. No politician can vote them away. No judge can rule them out of existence. No mob can shout them down. We answer to a higher power when it comes to our rights as human beings, as God's children. And this is why the left is so hostile to faith. It's not really about church services or prayer in schools. It's about power. They need you to believe that they are the highest authority in your life. But people of faith know better. We know there is something above the state, something more important than politics, something that judges the judges. When you understand that your rights are God-given, you cannot be intimidated. When you know that you'll answer to a higher authority than some bureaucrat, you cannot be bullied into silence. When you realize that truth isn't determined by polling or politics, but rather by something eternal, you can stand firm even when it feels like the rest of the world is going insane or that everyone else in the TV studio has lost their minds. This is the foundation of our freedom. It is what makes America different. And it is what they are trying to destroy. We have to be real about what we're facing. Many on the left have gone from disagreeing with us to trying to destroy us. At a minimum, they want to shut you up and shut you down forever. You know, they'll throw you in jail in Europe right now if you post the wrong thing on Facebook. Here? Oh, you think it can't happen here? Here? They censored you. They tried to lock up your president. They manipulated information that you could see on the doorstep of an election. And now, Charlie's gone. Why? For politics, for power, for this uncommon nonsense. It is not politics as usual. It is something far darker happening in our world. So you may be asking, what do we do about it? My first piece of advice is you have to wake up every morning prepared to tell hard truths over comfortable lies. This is essentially my job on CNN, to stand to thwart the mob in defense of America and in defense of the West. Second, I would encourage you all to teach your children to think for themselves and to not accept the brainwashing of the left. You have to show everyone in your life that America is worth fighting for, with your words, with your votes, and with your courage. And more than anything, we have to teach our children and everyone in our spheres of influence to love their country, because you know they are being bombarded every day by people who are teaching them to hate it. A nation of young people learning to love America terrifies the left, because they really need compliance more than they need questions. They need sheep more than they need lions. But I think Americans are hungry for the truth. I think when you give them a choice between being victims or victors, they will choose victory. If you give them a choice between dependence and dignity, they will choose dignity. And if you give them a choice between loving America and hating it, I think they will choose love. Because we are a nation of patriots. People want to love their country. And we just need leaders like the people in this room to reclaim and proclaim the freedom on which this country was founded. So as I close this morning, I want to thank you again for having me. It is an honor to be here with so many patriots. And I want you all to remember that defending Western civilization is not an act of nostalgia. It is an act of stewardship. We are all heirs to a legacy purchased by the courage of those who came before us, men and women who believed that truth was worth dying for and that freedom was worth defending. To paraphrase the Lion of the West, Winston Churchill, the flame of Christian civilization cannot be extinguished. It may flicker, but it will never go out. Our mission, your mission, is to spread light and truth in a confused world that desperately needs our clarity, into a divided culture that needs your courage, and into a dark age that very much longs for the light. If we remain faithful to God and we remain steadfast in our defense of the truths that built this great civilization, our best days, the world's best days, are still ahead of us. When it comes to defending the West, failure is not an option. Thank you all for having me. God bless Texas. God bless the United States of America.
Man, great job, Scott. That's really inspiring, and I really appreciate you being here. What about Scott Jennings, y'all? That's amazing. Way to go. I got to see Scott, as we mentioned, early in his career, and I can see now how God's used some early trials in his life to prepare him for what he's doing every day on CNN. It's like he goes into the lion's den every day. But you remember Patrick Leahy and Congressman Waxman, those guys were making it a personal mission to go after Scott Jennings, and at 20-something years old, he stood up and fought them and did not let them defeat him. So good job, Scott. So we're now about to transition into our panel sessions. We're going to be right here at 9:30, so there's about a 15-minute break, but you don't want to be late, so be right back in your seats at 9:30. This panel will examine the growing influence of political Islamism in American institutions, especially what's going on right here in Texas. Let me make one other reminder. If you haven't heard this, I think you have, but at lunch today with Tom Holman, we will need to have extra security. Please have your badges, your TPS badges. You won't be able to come in without your badges, okay? So make sure you have those to come for lunch. It's going to be a great rest of the day. Enjoy the rest of your morning. Thank you for being here. Scott, thank you. And Bernie, thank you again for breakfast.